Jai Shri Krishna. Today I would like to speak about a very important subject, and that is the major geopolitical escalation between Russia and Ukraine and its consequences and impact on the rest of the world. And this is a very important subject as it holds significant importance in every one of our lives, especially the common man. So let's understand this in deep detail based on astrology in today's video. But just before I begin, I would like to just tell you all, apart from the major and most important thing we're going to be discussing in this video, which is the astrological impact of this situation and whether this will be a World War III or not, I would like to begin this video with one important thing that everyone needs to keep in mind. This war is not between the people of Russia and Ukraine. It is a conflict that is being staged as to inflict as much misery as possible on the common man across the world, let alone just Russia and Ukraine. So we're already seeing that it's not the Russian elite or the global elite that are suffering because of this. It's the Russian people, it's the Indian people, it's the American people, and soon it'll be the rest of the world which will have to bear a significant brunt for this particular situation that has escalated so quickly. And I feel that this situation is being exploited in order to convert Ukraine into a war-torn country just like Afghanistan and create a despicable situation for the people who live in the country, causing them to become despondent and without any shelter or food, and causing poverty, which is a perfect situation for people to exploit the children and the common people of the country through various methods like child trafficking and extreme poverty and theft, etc. I think Ukraine is heading in that direction if the people don't take a strong stance and call out this particular situation. I would just quote one verse before I continue with the astrological parts. There's a very beautiful verse from the Hitopadesha, and a part of this is also mentioned in the Mahopanishad, which is a great text in Sanskrit. It says, Ayam nijaf paroveti ganana laghuchetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. This is a beautiful and very famous Sanskrit verse that is being quoted umpteen times, and it's time we remember its colossal significance. Those who think that this is mine or this is yours are people of a low mindset. They're either foolish people or evil people. Those who have steadfast cognizance of the fact that the world is one are wise people. The world is one beautiful family, and our father and mother is all God. So we are all part of that same family, and yet there is so much turmoil. And it's because of Kali Yuga, it's because of a group of people at the top rung of society, we could refer to them as the evil elite, who are orchestrating many of these political conflicts that we have to be careful of and aware of in order to avoid being the victims of this particular situation. I would recommend everyone to understand that we are all part of one family. And today it's Russia and Ukraine, tomorrow it could be any other country like India and Pakistan, or India and China, or it could be any particular country pair, or the whole world together fighting a war. So understand that it's not the people who are doing it, but it's actually people at the political rung who are doing all of this. So I would recommend all of you to please keep this one point in mind. The world is one beautiful family. And now let's get back to the most important parts on how this is going to affect us over the next few months. Thank you. Causing a lot of panic among people. It's hurting the economy, and it has already caused the death of thousands of innocent people and unnecessary bloodshed. We want to know exactly what is the future of this conflict and where we are heading, especially in the short term, what is going to happen, because everyone is being affected by this economically. Some people are being affected psychologically, some people are being affected on the ground in the borders between Russia and Ukraine. Some people are being affected directly in the capital of Kiev, and the situation is rapidly escalating. Every minute matters here. So I understand that many people are very anxious, and have been receiving a lot of requests about from people who want to know exactly what's going to happen next with this crisis. It's also hurting the economy, as I mentioned, and that has by far the biggest effect on the common man across the world. So let's dive deep into this without any further delay. And let's look at the astrological positions behind the present crisis. We have two primary positions. One is the Kalasarpa Yoga and the other is the position of Mars and Saturn being together. Starting with the Kalasarpa Yoga, there is an article on my website published around July 2021 in which there is a brief discussion about the period between March 2022 and April 2022. It's been archived on the Wayback Machine, so people can have a look at it along with the proof. So of course, astrology is always a torchlight and it helps us understand exactly what could happen in the future. And I'm sharing with you the link of this article as well, so people interested can use it for further study. It's being mentioned that there will be a geopolitical crisis between March and April, and many of my videos contain this subject as well. So you can just take a look at them as well. The Kalasarpa Yoga has been explained in detail in a separate video, themed the Kalasarpa Yoga itself. And that is the number one position. When all the planets are stuck between the two nodes of Rahu and Ketu, which is the north node of the moon and the southern node of the moon, when all the planets, including Uranus, Neptune and Pluto in this case, are actually stuck in this axis, we have a combination forming known as the Kalasarpa Yoga that tends to have a very strong effect on the geopolitical situation, the health situation, the economy of the world at large. And we're already seeing it. It's having profound effects across the world. So as mentioned in this, there will be a drastic increase in the bubble of the stock market before February, and then starting December 10, 2022, there will be a strong market crash, which has also been mentioned, and there's going to be an even stronger one between March and April 2022. So for more information, you can check the other videos. So March to April will be certainly dangerous when it comes to geopolitics. As we have already seen, this crisis is going to escalate further. But certainly, as I'm going to the next point, there will not be any world war at this moment. Any major World War III with nuclear weapons is not going to happen in the short term. However, it's on the cards for the long term. And as mentioned here, the possibility of a World War III happening in the short term is very limited. In fact, it's not going to happen now. But by the end of this decade, around 2029 to 2032, there is a very strong possibility because Jupiter and Saturn are actually in an opposition, and we have Rahu and Ketu in a similar position. It's a very strong candidate for a world war, and there are similar positions we have seen in history as well. So looking at history and looking at the planetary positions, as I mentioned in my previous videos as well, 2029 to 2032 are really strong candidates for a major geopolitical tension involving several countries, commonly referred to as a World War III. So this is a very important situation, and it's coming very quickly. It's going to completely change the way we look at the Earth, and it's going to change the maps, the political maps. It's going to even change the way we look at the physical world at large, and there are a lot of implications because of this situation, but it's quite a little bit far away, but we have to analyze it very well, and I'll come up with a video next regarding this situation. But for now, please calm down, and the media is trying its best to extract as much revenue as possible from this situation by increasing the fear in the people that there's going to be a World War III. I believe strongly that people need not worry that much. The possibility of a World War III is quite limited in the short term, but the long term holds very strong potential for such a major situation, and it's in our hands to prevent it as much as possible. We all need to join together, pray to the Lord, avoid being influenced too much by the media, because media is known to play several fear-mongering tactics, and this has been occurring since generations now, and we all seem to be unending prey of this particular situation. So we need to understand that in the short term, the most baffling risk that we have to endure is actually the economy, and the economy holds a very strong risk for us at the moment. It is the economy that will be affected mainly. I am not denying that people are being affected on the ground between Russia and Ukraine, but for now I feel that it's the economy that will be affected the most as predicted, and especially post March 16, 2022, we should be seeing a significant market correction. apart from the stock markets, we are also seeing the global economy being hurt by high oil prices, and of course crude oil has soared, and the global energy crisis is actually worsening day by day. Back in September, I've talked about this in detail in 2 of my videos. One just about the global energy crisis and this transition that we're going through from traditional energy sources to green energy sources is a very big one, and the common man is going to be hit the hardest by this transition unless we realize what to use exactly and how to come out of this crisis. Many analysts thought that the global energy crisis will actually wane away and there will not be any significant effect of this situation. But as we're seeing, to the contrary of those traditional assessments, we're seeing that the global energy crisis is only going to escalate because of the present geopolitical situation between Russia and Ukraine. And gas prices are going to increase drastically. So certainly, energy is going to become a very expensive commodity in the short term, and it will hurt the common man the most. This is a very important point that needs to be earmarked for today. So yes, coming back to the economy, I would recommend people to watch the latest video published on our YouTube channel about the economy in the short term, just about the date of March 16, that was just posted a week ago. So I would like to wind up this video with a summary of whatever we've been discussing. 1. This situation is very important to understand, as the Russia-Ukraine conflict is going to trigger economic problems for the world. It is going to cause a lot of turmoil economically for thousands of course, for hundreds of thousands of people. At the same time, it is going to of course it's going to be troublesome for people on the ground, but it's not going to escalate into a full-fledged World War III, which might happen between 2029 and 2032, although more research is underway on this subject. Number 2, the best investments to make, as per my previous video, during this period is gold and silver, and I'm very sure that silver will outperform most assets starting the 13th of April 2022. 2022 is going to be an year of silver and gold, particularly silver. So silver is really strong, and I believe it's going to show us its power over the next few months, and that's what I believe is going to happen. So the common man should house his wealth, his or her wealth, only in these 2 metals and also in agricultural land, but that is only after May 2022. It is very good for the long term to keep real estate in mind. And also, one thing to note is that several industries are going to be affected. Russia and Ukraine, some people might think Russia and Ukraine is the biggest thing going on right now, but the economy is already pumped up too much. We're having all-time high record a housing bubble. We're having again a very big housing bubble. We're having a big crypto speculation bubble, and we're having so many more bubbles with individual stock market bubbles across nations. And as predicted in my previous videos, of course, the stock market bubble is also coming down, and the pinprick is just a few months away. I mean, a few weeks away, actually speaking. Not to say that the entire economy would collapse. Some media networks have misinterpreted my prediction, stating that everything would collapse. But I would say that everything is there is going to be a very strong correction. That's what I believe. So winding it up, here it is, and please have faith in God, and please do not get manipulated excessively by the media. As I've already mentioned, we're becoming unending prey, and our complacency in understanding the situation in an unbiased manner is actually suffering a lot. We need to get back to our senses and understand the situation from a holistic perspective, and we need to stay calm, especially for investors here. People need to stay calm, and we need to invest in more in more ancient forms of investment, in more archaic forms of investment, rather than moving into risky portfolios at this moment. It is very crucial and very important. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, and hope the information given in this video was useful. And most of the information I've talked about in this video does not constitute regular financial advice. It is part of the research I do astrologically, and I would recommend people to do their own research. So far, so good. Astrology is doing really well in understanding the situation of the world and is a very powerful science, but everyone ought to do their own research, especially when making major decisions. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Lakshmi Narasimha.